before I get too much further. Were you able to hit record? Awesome. Okay. And then on Thursday, we have our first Meet the Authors featuring Kelly Jo Ford, Rudy Ruiz, Allison Randall, J. Scott Savage, Billy Ray Belcourt, Joanna Davidson Politano, K.A. Holtz, Lynn Enger, Becky Mandelbaum, and Reed Forgrave. That is 1 to 2 p.m. This Thursday. So it's a little bit different time from our last author presentation. Today's presentation and tomorrow and Thursdays will all be recorded, and they will live on our Heartland Fall Forum website. That's heartlandfallforum.org. So please check that out for all upcoming programming and past recorded events. That being said, I'm going to turn it over to David and Jamie right now for their presentation.
Okay. Hi, everybody. I think I'm starting. So just to give an idea of what's going on in my store, we're reopening to browsing tomorrow. We've been doing a bunch of online business and curbside pickup for about the past month. And I also haven't had an actual Frontlist buying meeting yet. So I just want everyone to know that this is the tools that I'm going to be using going forward, and it could be all in flux. So I don't know, David, do you want to mention what you're going to be talking about, I guess?
No, you go ahead. No, it's fine.
Okay, all right. So I'm going to sort of just talk about some things that I'm planning on doing, and then David's going to talk a little bit more about the technical side of stuff in terms of Edelweiss and things. But one thing that I've been noticing with being closed for as long as we have been, since about mid-March, I'm able to really see what our customers want. So when I'm looking in the Frontlist orders for fall, I'm able to really analyze what we've sold during the closure and determine if there are patterns of sections that are kind of just not moving without having a staff member there to sell it to someone. One thing I've noticed, YA fantasy was something that I ordered just sort of to have it on the shelf, and I realized that we're not selling any. And so I probably am going to be backing away a little bit from that kind of buying. It's going to be more focused on what we've actually read and really taking the time to analyze the sections that are moving on their own and using that as a tool to know what we need to have in the future. I also think that it's really important during the closure to use your website as like a digital front table and creating lists and things like that so that you can sell these books. We have our staff picks, but we've also really invested time and energy into making like curated lists of like, you know, your feminist toolkit or Black Lives Matter list, things like that. And I think that that's going to be something that we really are able to use a little bit more going forward with new orders to make sure that those new titles get put on there so that people know they're out there. Obviously, not being open, I'm thinking about things from just a digital perspective right now. I also am going to be utilizing pre-orders a lot. Things that I might have taken a chance on before. I'm gonna see what the market is right now. If I don't have a lot of interest in it, I'm probably not gonna, I'm not gonna be able to take that chance anymore. So I'm really gonna be pushing pre-orders and getting it, like really analyzing those numbers before I finalize any orders. And then also, I think that talking to your sales rep about promotions and like co-op money and things like that, talking to them about things that will actually work for your store is really important. The sales reps don't want to sell you a whole bunch of books that you're just going to return. So while, you know, co-op used to work where you order 6 and you get $30 or something like that, I'm probably not going to be as inclined to order in those quantities as much. So I really think something like the tiered promos where if you order 3, you get an extra 2%. If you order 5, you get an extra 5%. Those might be things that will work better for us going forward. And I think talking to your sales rep and giving them ideas of things that would work for you, they might not be able to make it happen, but at least you're having the dialogue. And then we were talking right before this meeting started about ARCs and not having them. So I think that utilizing your staff is really important and making sure that you're ordering things that your staff has been able to read, but then also realizing that there aren't as many ARCs. And if you have a tool in your disposal a digital tool to help make sure that the books get into your staff's hand. I know we have an iPad that we use for offsites. Obviously, we're not doing offsites, so I'm probably going to start like checking that iPad out to staff so that I can make sure that they're getting their eyes on the books that they might not be able to because they don't have the physical ARCs. And that's kind of my presentation. So, David.
Did anybody have any questions for Jamie? You're probably muted if you do, so unmute yourself and speak up. Anybody? Okay. Okay, well, so I'm at Next Chapter Booksellers in St. Paul in Minnesota. Our store is still closed to browsing. We're not open to the public at the moment. I'm sure we will be at some point, but we're not right now. And I've been through 4 rep meetings so far this season. So it's happening. I'd echo what Jamie says. First of all, you should be analyzing your sales, and that's the history of the store, because a lot of that is still true, but the recent stuff, because I guarantee your sales patterns have changed, and you need to at least understand how you're going to keep any new customers that you've gotten, or if maybe it's shown a light on some areas that, you know, you didn't think were going to do so well. For example, we've done a lot better with romance books than I had expected. We'd put in a small section literally just before we locked the doors. And online, the sales have been really good, and I'm doubly inclined. So look at your sales. Look at your sales by publisher, because you'll want to sort of sketch your order out in a certain amount of size. I don't do a strict budgeting, but I know that I'm going to be freer spending with this publisher than this publisher based on what we've sold in the past. Look at your sales by category, same sort of thing. And then think about what sort of promotions have worked for you within the store to move some books. So, you know, we get a decent response to social media posts, but not amazing. So you want to sort of think about things like that. And you can start looking at the catalogs with an eye towards what are you going to do to promote these books? Is it a display in the store? Is it a list on your website like Jamie was talking about? Is it you know, I don't know what you're doing, a newsletter promotion, for example. So you can look for those books. We did want to talk a little bit about cash flow. Neither Jamie or I is a financial whiz or anything, but cash flow is really important. And of course, frontlist buying is a big outflow of cash. So you should do a little planning around that. So I do really basic cash flow planning. I have a spreadsheet that just has the publishers, the months across the top, and what I think I have to spend with each of those publishers each month, and a tally at the bottom. And you got to sort of look at that. So that's all I'm literally doing, and it's not great, but it's something. To figure out what you owe the publisher, you need to contact your credit rep, okay? Statements are not fully updated. My QuickBooks records, the terms are not updated because publishers have been good about getting us longer terms, but I've still got invoices that, you know, are nominally overdue, but they're not actually due. So call your credit rep. Your credit rep is not your sales rep, okay? They're entirely different people, and apologies to all the sales reps in the room at the moment, but the sales rep can't do anything for you about the credit stuff, okay? So the same way that you maintain a relationship with your sales rep, you need to call your credit rep and just talk to them. And everybody I've talked to is so happy when they're actually not making the call, when they're getting a call. They're going to be perfectly nice. They want to talk to you. They want to hear what's going on. So just talk to them. And honestly, a lot of them can give you a month breakdown of, you know, what's going to be due in various months, and, you know, give you those numbers so you can start planning what's possible for you. And then of course in Edelweiss, as you're ordering, you can filter by a month and look at the bottom, and you'll see how many books you've ordered and what the total retail price of all those books is. So you can begin to figure out what your budgeting is for each month as you're ordering. And I don't do a whole lot with that, in all honesty, but if you're watching very closely, you can look and see, oh my God, I've got way too much in August. It's a terrible month for us. You know, it wouldn't be great. You know, you can do that. So do keep your cash flow in mind. So our store closed at the end of March, and I put all my accounts on hold. Worst thing I did this year. far and away worst thing I did. It was horrific digging out from all that and trying to figure out, you know, I didn't want to open the account and have everything come in, but I needed some stuff. So what I'm suggesting you do for your front list order is to split it up. And so I'm doing it, splitting my orders into two. So I'm just doing a core order, which I know I'm going to get whatever happens. If we're open in any form, I want these books, and a non-core portion. But you could use the technique to do any number of, you could do it any number of ways. You could do 1, 2, and 3 priorities. You could pull your kids' books out and put them in a separate one. You could do gift books and sidelines in a different one. It's pretty easy to split things in Edelweiss, so you can do it however you want. You could, for example, split your order by month. You could place the whole order and then pull everything out by month and have a separate PO for each month. And so you could just place the order for August. Well, okay, you could place your September order in August. I don't fully recommend it, but you could do it. You know, if you really want to watch things really closely and see how things go, you could do it that way, and that sort of thing. The one caveat I'd say for this thing I'm going to talk about in Edelweiss is that it is not impossible, but it's hard to put the same book onto more than one list, at least initially. So you kind of have, it's kind of all or nothing, but you could work around it. So what you want to do in Edelweiss, or what I'm doing in Edelweiss anyway, is to make a single order. So, you know, just you make an order in Edelweiss and I do all my buying in there. I put in all the numbers, I see where I am, I see the balance, and so on and so on. And that's what I've done normally. And in years past, I would have just placed the whole order and put it on a single PO and been done with it. But what I'm doing now is you can tag individual titles. So I'm using both tags and notes in Edelweiss. And I'm marking out my core titles, but you can do whatever you want. I'm suggesting you do both tags and notes because your rep cannot see markup tags that you make, okay? So you can tag a book all you want and the rep's not gonna see it. We use notes in the store for the staff to talk to one another about books. So I'll have notes in there that say, you know, oh, I really love this book from this bookseller and I know she's gonna hand sell it. So just filtering by notes wouldn't quite cover everything. But you tag the orders that you want. Then when everything's done, so then I go through the rep meeting, talk to the rep about what's what. The rep can see what's core and what's not, which isn't like, it's important for them, but what's most important is if you do have some promos, like the ones where you need to buy 5 out of these 8 titles and certain quantities, they probably need to be on the same PO for most of the publishers. So they either need to be all core or all not core or somewhere like that. So you wouldn't necessarily want to split because you don't want to up your order in order to get a promo and then shoot yourself in the foot by splitting it onto a couple POs. You should talk to your rep. Be sure you talk to your rep about what you're trying to do in your buying. You know, they understand that we're all figuring this out. So if you're ordering less, just tell them right up front you're ordering less. They don't want to waste their time putting in numbers that you're just going to swat down. They want to help get you to the right number. So tell them what you're doing. Have them make suggestions. They can see what's core and what's not core. If they know that this book is really a big publicity push and you should really probably have that on laydown and not be waiting for it, they might suggest you put it onto your core order so that you're going to get it. Things like that can be good.
Damn, assholes.
So then you go through the order and do the order as usual, get all your numbers figured out and all that. Then in Edelweiss, and I can share my screen later if anybody wants to see this, but in Edelweiss, you go to orders and you'll see all of your open orders listed. And this is where you would export it to your POS system. Click open that. It's called Export Preview. You'll see a list of all the titles. You can sort that list by tag or by notes or whatever it is that you're doing. And then there's a little button next to each one, and you click that. Oh, sorry, I did it backwards. So stop that. Place the order, and then you have to open a new order in Edelweiss, okay? So make a new order, share it with your rep. Then go into Export Preview, sort, click the titles that you want, and then there's a feature that says Move Selected. It's up at the top. And you just move them onto the new order that you've created. So now they're gone from the original order, they're on the new order. You've got all your numbers and all your notes and everything the same, but the order is now on 2 orders in Edelweiss. You can download them into 2 separate POs in your PO system, and the rep can place them. So now you've got everything ordered that you want, it's all open. But if the worst comes to worst, you can, cancel a PO or put it on hold or whatever it is that the publisher wants, and know that that PO is not coming, but the other PO is. If you cancel it, you have a much smaller list to go back and review later of books you might want to bring in later, because that order now exists in Edelweiss. So you can see all those titles again without having to read every title in the catalog all over again. You can find them that way. And that's how I'm planning to manage this sort of thing, is I've got a couple different POs for everybody, and I can work with them as I want to going forward.
So that's, David, that's how you establish core and non-core.
Yeah, that's, for me, core is stuff I think is going to have a lot of publicity. Some big stuff that I know I just want a big order because we're going to sell this over the course of the fall, so I'm just going to get them up front. Some books that I think there are going to be production issues on, so a biggish cookbook, I probably going to want to get them sooner rather than later, in case they're delayed coming from the printer. Big books that are pubbing in December, I make core because I don't, you get one shot at them before the holidays. Non-core is definitely, for me, like gifty books, counter books, children's picture books, because those have tanked for us now that nobody is browsing the store. And then just stuff that, I'd like to have, but I'm not positive. Like, I wouldn't be embarrassed if I had to cancel the order and someone said, oh, do you have X, Y, and Z? I had to say no. So to be honest, I've ended up with about 2/3 core and 1/3 not core, honestly. Most of what I'm ordering is stuff that I do want. So take that for what it's worth. I thought it would be the other way around, but most of the stuff I'm ordering is stuff that I genuinely want. So I've learned that from my ordering so far.
Are you guys ready to open it up for questions?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, if anybody has a question, please throw it out there. I have a kind of a follow-up for David, but I'll let anybody that wants to jump in really quick ask some questions.
I'd love to know if anybody has an idea I haven't thought of yet, because this works, but I don't know. We'll see. Larry, what was your question?
So you briefly touched on month to month. So that seems to be kind of a reoccurring topic in all of our discussions. So I was curious if you or Jamie have delved into month to month, if you worked with reps at all for month to month, or if there's any other booksellers or reps in here that have started ordering month to month and what that kind of looks like.
Jamie?
I think we have not done that because I think there's a lot of promos that have like hard deadlines, and there's also just like you were talking about production issues. I just want to get in the queue on there. So we personally haven't. And in terms of like what I do for Cashflow, like we always just sort of have an idea ballpark in our minds. I'm the person that does all the money. So it's been good to be on both sides, because before I was here, we just had an office manager and then we had the buyer, and there wasn't really a lot of communication. But I don't have anything that I extrapolate. I just know that when I used to spend this much on a front list order, I just obviously don't want to go over that, but I'm also thinking about it in terms of like what I can afford overall, but not month to month. I don't know.
Yeah, I haven't done any of the month by month buying either. I've had 4 rep meetings so far, and I've got at least another dozen before I've looked at everybody once. I can't do that many every month. I just can't look at that many catalogs every month and make that many decisions. So, you know, I've just had to just bite the bullet and make these orders, and it feels weird and it's kind of scary, but you know, you could cancel them. They're not a debt until the book ships, and so I haven't done it. It's just too much. But if I had a much smaller, if I was like half used or something, and I was buying many fewer Frontlist books, it'd be practical, but it's just not practical for me. Ursula, you asked about screen sharing. Okay, let's see what let me just see what I got here. Okay. Oh, Larry, I am disabled from screen sharing, it says, which is smart.
Kate, since I switched you to host, can you switch that?
Okay.
All right, you should be all set. Give that a try.
Thank you.
Okay. Everybody see my screen here?
Yeah.
I can't see the chat any longer. So okay. So catalogs. This is where you're actually buying and everything. So this is where you're doing all your numbers and all that. And sorry, I was going to show. Okay, so down here, you can see I've put tags on a couple of titles. So this is a tag for core. The rep cannot see that, but the rep can see this note that says core. So this is a book, and I'll do a little work for Johanna here and tell you, this is a book I'm excited about. We had some good uptake on the previous 2 in his series, so I've got, you know, I want to make sure that I get this one. It's November 10th. So I don't really want to be chasing this into December. I just want to place the order and be done with it. So I've got this in here. You'll see that because I've clicked core over here on the left, down here at the bottom, you get a breakdown, 3 titles, 8 units, $179. That's retail. That's not your cost. Edelweiss doesn't know what your discount is. But you can get a sense. So that's my core order. If I untag it, yeah, you can see I'm currently at 25 units. Oop, there you go, 25 units, $500. I'm working on this order. But anyway, so you can get a sense of what you're doing. Okay, so that's what they look like when they're tagged. And then you can obviously filter by pub date. So I could see what's coming out in November. I don't have any core orders, but you could figure out what's the core order and November. You could break it out if you really needed to. Okay, so you get the whole order done. Up here at the top says orders, right? So this one is where all your open orders are. So these are the orders that these are completed orders. These are active orders. Okay, so these are orders I'm currently working on. So right now, this PGW ad that we were just, order that we were just looking at, that's everything, core and non-core. So I would go in and create an order and call it PGW non-core. I would share it with the rep, but this is just a dummy order, so I'm not going to. So save it. Yeah, that's fine. Okay, so now you've got this order and that. Okay. Over here, export preview. So this is the order with everything in it. You can see here 102 books, 216 units. You click export preview. Normally, I would just click download and download this into Booklog. But what you can do instead, you can see over here on the right that your notes and your tags have started coming through. So there's the core ones again, so you can see. So what you do is you click that one and then you move it. You can sort over here by tags. Now all of these have popped to the top. And so you just have to go through, and this is a little tedious, but you just go through and you click them all here. click as many as you want, split them out differently, and then move target order, move them here. If I did that, it's gonna, yeah, okay. Then when you click move, it's gonna actually move them, which I don't wanna do at this point, but hell, I'll do it. I'll just move them. Okay, so now they're no longer here, and you can see they are here. Now I did it backwards. These are core ones on a non-core, but you get the idea. So now they're off the other one, they're onto this one, and you can do all the same kind of analysis by pub date or whatever else you want to do. But now you're done. So you would want to do this after you've talked to the rep and put in, got your numbers finalized and that sort of thing. Because now you got to deal with 2 orders and it's kind of a pain to go back and forth. But if all you're going to do at this point is just download these and be done with it, it's fine. It's a little more work, but you've got things sorted out that way. So I'm going to actually move these back while I'm thinking of it. There. And now they're all back on this order again. So that's it. That's it. You do have to have 5 minutes to sit and do this clearly and think about it, but it's not super hard. And you could split it out. You could have multiple tags and multiple open orders and move them back and forth. I don't probably think you should have too many, but you're a better thinker about it than I am. But once you've done that, now you've got all the numbers that you had agreed with before. You've just got them and you put them onto different POs, and then you have a lot more control over your POs and your orders and everything. I can't see the chat or anything, so if anybody has typed a question, I can't see it, but.
Nothing new yet, David.
Pardon? Okay. So that's it. That's all that there is. By the way, is also how you fix when you do not watch which order you're ordering at the bottom of the screen and you put Penguin onto Harper. This is how you fix it. That's where I learned that years ago when I did that foolishness.
Somebody just asked in chat, how much time did this add?
It's not bad. The tagging, the note, and the core, it's just typing. It's not bad. Downloading it, yeah. I mean, it's another like 10 minutes. I mean, that's it for the moving. That's as much as it is. The clicking every item is the worst part. So not much, not very much. My book log is kind of slow for uploading new POs, but it's fine. Not a lot of time, honestly. You're welcome.
There's a second question.
Oh, okay, I see now. David, how do you sort by month for cash flow?
Oh, okay, sure. Let's go back here. So in your order, and you can do this while you're in the catalog as well. Well, let's do it in the catalog as well. That'll be easier. So you go in the catalog, and over here, these filters over here on the right, which they're loading, but that is your friend. That is where you can do so much. So all you need to do is click ordered. And then you could click core. So now you're looking at things which are both core and you've ordered some. And so now you can see down at the bottom that you've got your cash flow information here for this publisher. I'm sorry, for everything that you've ordered. So then on top of that, you would do pub date. Okay, so then you could do it by pub date. So here's everything that's core that you've ordered that's coming out in August. Okay, it's one book, but there it is. And so you can begin to do your planning that way. And if you take off core, so you just look at everything that you've ordered, you can begin to see. So you can see here, you can see the simple stuff. So you've got one book for each for July, 1 for August, 3 for September, 5 for October. And again, if you could just click on those numbers, that's it done. What did I do? I don't know what I did. Okay, we'll go back. But anyway, if you use the filters over there and you look at the number at the bottom of the screen, and it'll give you the numbers of books that you've ordered and how much the retail value is for those. Sorry, I went all the way back. So was that a clear answer? Again, I can't see the chat, I don't think.
You're good.
Okay. Yeah, I can't see the chat. I can only see my screen when I'm sharing it. And you can do that whether you're splitting your order or not. You can always see, what your tally is and what you're ordering, that sort of thing. So what are other people doing? What is anybody? I'm always impressed by my own ideas, but what are other people doing? Is there a much better way to do this?
I'll jump in here for a second. We are doing a little bit of, I guess, what you guys would refer to as the month-to-month. I am not looking further than maybe 6 to 8 weeks out at a time. We've been open to the public since May 21st. And I think that we just sort of have it in our minds that there's another shutdown coming. We just don't know when that's going to be. So I'm just being really cautious with cash flow. But that does actually lead me to a question that I'm hoping, because I noticed several reps on here, and I know I'm asking for, this is probably the impossible question. If I'm not doing massive orders for in-store stock, are publishers still doing somewhat normal print runs of things for the holidays? Because I still expect our online orders, curbside pickup, all of that to work, where I'm expecting a lot of last minute ordering, I guess, or online orders. I don't want to run out of the big holiday titles, but I also don't want to have to order them ahead of time, not knowing what's coming. So that's a comment and a question. Anyone?
None of the reps I've talked to has said they're expecting any worse production issues than we've seen recently, which is, not inconsiderable, but the ones that they're worried about, big full color books with a lot of production that are coming from China. But that's been the case for the last 2 Christmases. Oh, there we go. There's Bridget.
Bridget said from PRH, I have not heard anything about print runs being downsized.
Hey you guys, this is Courtney from Chronicle Books. I will say that we changed the way we publish quite a few seasons ago, that our first print runs are pretty small, and we kind of watch orders coming in, and then we try to trigger reprints to hit on sale dates. I will say this season, obviously, this fall we're even unsure of how to gauge, and we are being a little careful on some of the, like you mentioned, the more expensive books of where we normally would have made a decision by now to get it in time for the fourth quarter. So I do foresee there might be some books that we will run into some trouble with come October, November, December. But we're trying to hold those for indies as well. So we're doing more of an effort now to hold on to stock through December for those last minute ordering, because we're hearing that from so many.
Hey, this is David Underwood from PRH. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
We probably are going to have first printings that are normal in anticipation of more orders coming in late, where I think everybody needs to be cognizant is if there are problems with COVID becoming bad, it could affect staffing at the printing companies. And so despite one's best intentions. There may be cases where we can't print books as quickly as we thought we could. And so there's no way to anticipate what that is, but I think that's something that you might want to factor into your overall thinking about how to plan for the fall. And certainly books that you think you can sell a lot of, there might be some merit in going ahead and ordering a lot of them up front. And that way, you know, you've got them. I know that that's always like anybody's favorite guessing game is what's going to sell a lot. But I think, you know, Bridget's right. We haven't heard that print runs are being cut back, but in terms of reprinting things, we don't know whether a printer might suddenly have a rash of cases and need to cut back on staffing and not be able to come through with books. You know, PRH has some nice contracts with companies, and that might help. But if a printer doesn't have anybody to work there, we can't do anything about it.
Yeah.
This
So
might be
Jane,
a good time to put in a plug for the regional winter catalogs, by the way. Publishers are placing ads to be in those catalogs. They have high confidence in the performance of those titles. So whenever the regional is sharing the title list for the catalog, get on that and make sure that you make a commitment to, and I think I'm funneling David's words specifically, that you find the titles in that list that you're really confident about and make a commitment to those and get those orders in early and build your, you know, holiday promotional title list based on what's in the catalog and get in front of those as early as you can. The title lists are starting to be released now.
So Jamie, what is your philosophy when you're front list buying? So I'll just say I am trying to get like 2 months worth of books into the store. So I'm kind of looking at what I think I'm going to sell in the first 6 to 9 weeks kind of period. What are you doing when you're putting numbers on a front list order?
Yeah, so I think it depends on the quarter, obviously. But I think that I tend to think about it in terms of what you're saying. I want to be able to get through the weekend. That's kind of, so, and if it's a front list order, then I'm thinking about like, is there benefit to getting a big stack if I think that there's going to be more. But it's always, for me, I do the backlist reorders too. And it's always for me, when I do my reorders on Monday, I just need to make sure that I can get through next weekend. So when it's front list, I think about it more on a, you know, couple of months, as you said, but it's just trying to get those books in the store so that I don't have to order them, special order them for me.
Yeah. Yeah. And I would remind everybody that front list ordering is an important part of your buying, but you need to have a mechanism for finding titles and reordering them, because for me, that's where the bulk of my ordering is. It's reordering. Front list is so that I know I have it on pub date, or I know I have it 3 months after pub date when somebody wants that one singleton that's been sitting there. But reordering is where you're really gonna affect your cash flow and affect your stock, your inventory, and what's available. So front list buying, as important as it is actually probably, for me, it's 75, 80% of my buying is reordering. And so that's where your cash flow and all really are affected. And then you have the most control.
Yeah. I think that we tend not to order singletons just to give, and I mean, if I don't feel confident enough in it to get at least 2, then I don't think that I mean, that's the one that I'm willing to let that be a special order.
Yeah.
We did have another question in chat from Hannah at the Bookworm. Is anyone using analytics buying support? Looks like they are beginning and have lots of questions.
I am not. Is anybody in the room using that?
What do you mean specifically?
So I gather Edelweiss will give you more like suggested orders and things like that, I believe, but I've never used it.
I mean, I definitely use the part where I see what percentage of other stores have the title in order. If it's something that I'm like, oh, I'm the only one that likes this book. But I don't use.
Yeah, does everybody know that one? That's a big one. I'm gonna share this again. You can, why were you not? You can see ordering information about books. I believe you have to pay for analytics to do this, but I'm not positive. but you can begin to see, and it's this early in the season, it doesn't tell you a lot, but up here, it'll begin to tell you what books people are already ordering. And the other one that you can do is down here, you can see sales data on backlist titles, which is great. It's called peer data here. And you can see what numbers other bookstores who are using Edelweiss and reporting their sales to it are moving, which is great. So this is indie bookstores in the last 12 months. So 21% of stores have sold this book and 15% of them have it on hand. And you can see the actual numbers here. Now you can't see the names. You can see your own name eventually when you're in there, but you can't see that. But you can see what other stores have sold. So if the rep is telling you, oh, this was great in hardcover and you didn't pick it up, you can look and begin to see. I mean, not everybody goes through Edelweiss to report their sales and things like that, but you can get a sense. And you can filter it a little bit if you really just want to know, you know, current month or so on and so on. But there's some sales data in there. So this is some analytics data that everybody, I think, who's buying analytics from Edelweiss can use. You can begin to see, I don't have anything. You can begin to see what other stores have put, oh, there it is, on order number over here. So 2% of bookstores have ordered this one so far, which honestly, for a poetry book from Black Sparrow this early in the season, that's not a bad number. You know, that's not a useful number either, but you can begin to see. That's all I know as far as analytics and that sort of thing. Oh, Kate has a comment though. Kate, what do you want to say about analytics? That'd be great. Okay.
Oh, she's back. So Kate's comment, for those that can't see it, Kate Rattenberg from Dragonfly Books. I use the analytics report for restock, checking titles by publisher that have been selling well across the country. I also saw we have Lynn Fremont in the chat. Did you want to jump in, Lynn? Is there anything you wanted to add?
Okay, there we go. Yeah, I'm more than happy to show anybody like exactly how to do whatever it is that you want to do. There are certain features that are really useful, especially for rebuying things, because in the analytics, there is a feature that you can just like go look at what you've sold in the last couple of days, and then you'll have a list and you can just even order right from that list if you want to. I'm not entirely, but anyways, like everybody does things a little differently. So I don't want to like take up all your time doing a demonstration. I just want to let you all know that we are available and willing to show you how to use analytics to your best ability.
Hey Lynn, I don't think I've met you yet. I'm assuming you're on the tech side of.
Yes, I'm on the technical side of things. Yeah, Joe had a family thing, so I jumped in just in case you needed somebody questions, Edelweiss questions answered.
Yeah, I know I don't use the analytics enough, even though we're paying for it.
I know. There's always a little bit of a learning curve. So, you know, and everybody does it a little bit differently. Like everybody's needs are so different that a lot of times it's worth just shooting a question to us. And we're so, we love answering questions. It's like our whole thing. So.
Thank you, Lynn.
Okay.
So Leonora asked about what is core and what isn't. I sort of talked about it a little bit for myself, stuff I want on laydown, stuff I think is going to have print run issues, or things that are coming out very late in the season that I want to make sure I get. So, you know, after the middle of November, I'm not at my best with the reordering. So things that come out, okay, don't abuse this, reps, but things that are coming out December 10th, I'm ordering probably a bit more just because I'm not going to get back and order them again before Christmas. And if I'm going to sell a bunch, it's because I have them. And then I'll just say, Leonora, for me, almost everything ended up being core. Really only a third of the stuff really came out that I didn't feel pretty strongly about. Of course, there was stuff I really didn't feel strongly about, I just didn't buy. But yeah, I almost could have just started marking the stuff that was not core and pulling it out. Does anybody else have thoughts about how they might use something like that?
I think for us, we are a different beast entirely as a feminist bookstore. So like right now, obviously anything that's social justice related, that's core for us. But just in general, things that have a sales history, new books that my staff have gotten, like new emerging authors that my staff has gotten really invested in. We do a lot of business with indies. Introduced titles are really big for our store. So it really, it changes a lot, but and things that we got pre-orders for. But
is there any other booksellers on the chat willing to jump in to talk about what's been selling, what's been trending for them right now that may be different than in the past?
That's pretty much my question, Larry.
Okay, gotcha.
we're moving stores. We're moving stores and we're doing renovations right now in the new store. And I'm hoping, cross fingers, that we will be open by August 15th, maybe more like August 30th. But that's my question is how, without analytics, what else can I do to find out what's been selling, what I need to order, you know, kind of be prepared and make up for lost time?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, like, it's so different store to store. It's kind of hard to say. I only buy for the children's section. I manage that section of the store. So I have noticed like hardcover picture books go down, but not significantly. And we have seen like big social justice title sales and also like a desire for like own voices books, but I don't know like how prolonged that will be, but it was good that we had them in stock. So when the demand hit, yeah.
I would also jump in. Oh, go ahead, Jamie. Sorry.
Oh, I was just gonna say, I think that having a good relationship with your sales rep is the best thing you can do. Is like talk to them and say, I don't know because we haven't been open for a while. Like what trends are you seeing? You should hopefully you have a sales. I mean, like all of our sales reps are amazing and they know our store, and hopefully that they kind of know what your market is and can talk to you.
Right. Well, I noticed Eric Heideman's on this call too, so I know him and Jen will have a nice big Fuji order set up for me, I'm sure.
I would also just add that, you know, we opened our store sooner than expected due to the Wisconsin Supreme Court overturning our governor's stay-at-home order. So I had almost zero front list when we opened at the end of May. And the truth of the matter is, what you put on display, if you put it on display intelligently, they're going to buy it. That being said, to answer the sales reps, other than anything to do with social justice, owned voices, Black authors, and for us Native American authors, really well written sort of escapist fiction is what my customers are looking for right now. Please take me somewhere else other than where we are right now. And we're selling a ton of that as well. But I mean, knock on wood, and this is why I'm afraid of another shutdown, we're actually doing normal summer numbers right now for Bayfield. Wow. Which is truly, truly frightening. Because there's a lot of mask issues and all that fun stuff. But if I get 8 more weeks of solid summer numbers, we can have another shutdown and survive. So, yeah. Anyway, but I just would say, you know, work on your display techniques and what you put out. If you know your backlist as well as you know your front list, and you'll be okay.
Jamie also sort of alluded to an answer, which is pre-orders. And I would add to that special orders. So in the Midwest, we have a really hard time getting people we don't even try and call them special orders because people don't want to be special. But if somebody actually orders a book that we don't have on the shelf, I pay attention just to see if it's something that I've let go out of stock that I shouldn't have, that I slept on, that I didn't, that I passed in the catalog. even one, because we don't get, we get enough special orders that I can go through them pretty fast. But even one is like an indication of, what you're going. So if you're seeing trends within your special orders, your pre-orders, that's an indication of what your customers want. You got to look a little harder maybe, but you can see some information there pretty fast as well.
And I think that being closed for as long as we have been and only having online orders, which believe it or not, our online orders have been almost the same as our in-store for the same time period. And it's only been 3 of us doing them in store. So it's just been a lot. But I do think that looking at that and seeing the random things that people are buying has been really enlightening. Just seeing, like David was saying, I don't know if it was on this call or before we started, but romance is huge, which I love, but that's been amazing. And just sort of getting a feel based off of what you've sold that you weren't expecting, that's really going to inform what I do and what I don't order.
Yeah, I will say I feel more than ever beholden to publisher marketing. So we can post stuff on our social media and move a couple copies, and the newsletter moves a book pretty well, but I can't put all 13,000 titles into the newsletter or on Instagram. And so we can't make as many hits as we used to. So I'm paying more attention to publisher marketing, which publishers I know their marketing has come through to our customers in the past, which ones they say are priorities for the fall seasons. And as much as ever, I'm paying attention to that because there's a certain amount of just demand that's being created out there outside of my store that we're benefiting from, but I need to be able to meet the demand that's coming. And unfortunately, it means I don't get to necessarily decide which title that is, but I think you should be cognizant of, when reps highlight titles or, tell you it's an enormous print run, pay attention. It might be something that there's going to be demand outside of your store, even if you weren't selling it in the past.
All right, thanks guys.
Just to quickly add on to that, Carrie had a good point she threw in chat. Using the national and regional indie bestseller list is, of course, a good idea too. That's a great point. I look at those pretty frequently. I think the regional lists are much more interesting than the national lists. So give those a look. I mean, pretty much every regional posts their weekly bestseller list on their website, so it's easy to take a look at. And MIBA and GLIBA obviously have a lot of crossover, but titles that are selling well in Michigan will sell just as well in Minnesota and vice versa. So definitely check that out.
Yeah. And remember, your front list, it's not like you only get one crack at a book, okay? If you pass on a book in your front list order, you can still order it a week after publication. You just have to have a mechanism to identify what those books are. And that can be Edelweiss analytics. It can be what books your booksellers are hearing from customers. It can be national bestsellers. It's all of those things. You just need a mechanism to find those. So don't hold yourself to some standard that you have to find everything in every front list catalog. Just have a way to bring them in later if you, when you identify that you missed something, because you're gonna miss something.
If anybody has any other questions, please feel free to jump in. We got about 5 minutes left. We have so many publishers and reps on the call. I think I'd like to take advantage of that a little bit if I could.
Yeah, did we scare you or encourage you? How's your mood?
David Ballman, also remember that your reps are there for backlist as well as front list, not just placing orders, but suggesting titles, helping curate sections, etc. That's a good point. So reps that have started having buying appointments this year, do you have any tips or any prep that booksellers could do leading into the meetings this year, that would help them since this is such a different year? Any tips or recommendations that you've seen working so far with your meetings that have started?
Larry, it's Bridget.
Hey, Bridget.
I've had a good number of meetings and actual live POs put in my system now, which is pretty exciting by this point. And what I see is my buyers trying to walk a fine line between saying, we don't know, what it's going to be like, and I am going to give you a live number. So everybody's doing a pretty good job, I think, of a balancing act between not cutting what their initials would be too much, because what they don't want to do is be, especially now, I mean, nobody wants to chase something that's working in the fourth quarter to begin with, but knowing how much extra work it is now to keep up with everything, just things that are absolute slam dunks, they just want to get the right number in, to begin with. The numbers most people seem concerned about are the 1s and the 2s, the discoverability if you can't be browsing. On the other hand, everybody seems to be doing a very good job of at least having some, not cutting that out altogether, but still picking up the 1s and 2s that make you different from everybody else. So, it's just actually almost all of my buyers have approached it a little bit differently, but I think so far all of the orders I've gotten seem to be about right for what I think they should be doing.
Great. We had a couple comments in chats. Eileen Becker, know how to use your Edelweiss filters. It helps to cut down. I just lost it. Some comments coming in. Or is it?
Cut down on the number of titles that need to be discussed.
Thank you. Leonora commented, the more feedback, the better. What is happening in your market? What are the best-selling titles? What do you need from me and my presses to help you sell your books? Beyond backlist specials, is there something we can do or provide to help you promote our books in the virtual landscape? I'll let that question breathe for a second if anybody wants to jump in.
This is Dave Malman with Norton. I'm really quickly going to comment on one of the comments you just mentioned a little while ago about cutting down on the time. As most of you who I've worked with know, I do like to do a markup ahead of time. I like when buyers do a markup ahead of time. I think that's more important now than ever. I don't think anybody wants a 2-3 hour, in this case, phone call. And I think it really behooves the buyer, having been a buyer, to do an initial order, have the rep look at it, do suggestions so that when you get on the phone, not that we want to only talk for 10 minutes, but what you're talking about is what needs to be talked about, as opposed to sitting there talking about, should we order one of this? Yes, we should. Well, that was obvious. You know, that would have been in the initial buy, if that's making sense. So.
Yeah, in many ways, my Frontlist buying is a lot the same as it's always been. Numbers are down, but the process is still very much the same. Analyze your sales, know what you want, find it in the catalog, and get it into the store.
Danielle Zielinski from Hachette in the chat. Are there any sections you might cut back on as you let more people in the store due to social distancing, needing to make more physical space?
We just went through the process of reorganizing the store. We're not cutting any sections that I can think of, and I think every store would be a little bit different anyway. So that's just from my perspective. We definitely are rearranging things and getting rid of an entire like floating shelf. We're just getting rid of it. But so I guess in essence, we are limiting the amount because I'm not reordering in those sections as much because I have to find somewhere to put them, but I can't think of like a specific section that's just, yeah, we're done with you.
Yeah, I mean, if you've been paying attention to your sales for the past couple of years, you've gotten rid of those bad moving sections already, I hope, or shrunk them or whatever it needs. So I don't have any particular plans to do any hard culls in that way. You know, we're upping our returns and all that sort of thing. And we're probably going to get rid of a table of display space to make more room. But I think I'm going to be able to get away with just taking out one table. So no, by and large, when we reopen, we want to be a lot the same store we were before, not too radically different.
I'm going to put out there that the what we have cut back on. We have not cut back on any sections whatsoever, but we have cut back on sidelines. We have almost no reading glasses in stock right now. I've got one spinner of reading glasses that's actually being kept behind the cash register because I don't want to worry about glasses on faces and all that good stuff. Our games have been cut back slightly, but it was too important to us to make sure that we were still maintaining the inventory that we've worked so hard to curate. So we're not cutting back on any book sections as of now.
We've cut back pretty dramatically on the display space for our coffee table books and some of the larger, more expensive books. The place that we had those in the store has been now replaced with puzzles, which we have just sold the daylights out of puzzles during shutdown. And we also we have a sideline of Folkmanis puppets, and we took those off the spinner because we didn't really want people handling the puppets. And it took quite a lot of work, but we made monofilament harnesses for all the animals and hung them on top of the bookcases all the way around the store. So they are all on display, and they view really nicely, and it's actually kind of helped the sales. We have less people handling and fooling with them, and more people saying, actually, I'm very interested in that in particular. So that's been a good move for our store.
So we are just past 2 o'clock. If there's any last questions, please throw them out there.
While folks are doing that, can I make one more mention of the catalog, especially in regards to fall ordering? Now is actually the time when MIBA and GLIBA are collecting recommendations from booksellers about titles that you would like to see, that you're excited about for the fall, that you want to sell as part of the catalog. So if you have any particular titles that you are excited about for the fall, you would love to see them in the catalog, send an email to myself, send an email to Larry, let us know, because we're collecting those now.
Thank you, Kate. It's a great point. Great. All right. I think we're going to close it out. As I said at the beginning, this presentation is recorded. It'll be available this Friday on our website, and you all should be receiving an email with this presentation tomorrow and Thursday's presentation. Thank you, David. Thank you, Jamie. That was really great. Thank you, everybody, for attending.
Yes. Thank you, everyone. All right, I'm just leaving.